All right, to begin with, the United Nations Special Representative of Sexual Violence in Conflict informed the UN Security Council that there are reasonable grounds to believe that the conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred on the 7th of October.
We found that there are reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence, including rape and gang rape, occurred in at least 3 locations, namely the Nova Music Festival site and its surroundings, Road 232, and Kibbutz Reim. In most of these incidents, victims were first subjected to rape, then killed.
UN's top official on sexual violence in conflict also said that her team found clear and convincing information that sexual violence have also been committed against the hostages.
In terms of findings on sexual violence, we found clear and convincing information that sexual violence, including rape, sexualized torture, and cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment have been committed against hostages, and we have reasonable grounds to believe that such violence may still be ongoing against those in captivity.
Now, Patton's team visited Israel between the 29th of January and the 14th of February. Their mission was to gather, analyze and verify information on sexual violence linked to the 7th of October attacks. However, Pramila Patton said that these findings are not enough for hostages to continue, as she calls for a humanitarian ceasefire.
Right, Haim. The special representatives meet with the UNSC was requested by the UK, US and France. Well, Israel's foreign minister asserted on a call for the release of the hostages as he accused the sexual crimes committed by Hamas worse than the terror actions carried out by Al-Qaeda, ISIS and other terror organizations.
Hamas is not speaking on behalf of the Muslim world, and we are asking you to condemn the sexual violence crimes these barbarians committed in the name of the Muslim religion. I'm demanding from the Security Council of the United Nations to put as much pressure as possible on the Hamas organization to release immediately and unconditionally all kidnapped hostages.
Now, the UN meeting, it took place against a backdrop of rising hunger in Gaza and as Muslims around the world celebrate the holy month of Ramadan. Israel continues to block the crucial humanitarian aid to the besieged enclave. The United Nations, it's already warned about the risk of a famine in the Gaza Strip.
And I repeat, as many of you have said, an immediate ceasefire. But Netanyahu's political survival requires for the onslaught to continue. And so here we are, 5 months later, with a genocide underway before the eyes of the world and with no end in sight.
Well, for more on the UN sexual violence report, our correspondent Susan Tehrani explains what the report exactly entails. Take a look.
The report by the Secretary General's Special Representative on Sexual Violence in Conflict, Pramila Patton, makes a number of recommendations, including urging all parties to agree to a ceasefire and for Hamas to release all hostages. She said, quote unquote, that the implicated parties in these hostilities have turned a blind eye on international law. The report also urges the government of Israel to grant access to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Independent International Commission for Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory, and that Israel itself carries out a full-fledged investigation on all the alleged violations that occurred on October 7th.
Now, Susan also further explained to us what Secretary General's Special Representative on Sexual Violence in the Conflict recommended be done moving forward.
So the overview on this report regarding sexual violence made headlines worldwide when it was released last week following a visit to the region by Pramila Patton in mid-February. According to the report, the special representative said that during the Hamas attacks on Israel in October, there are quote-unquote reasonable grounds to believe that the incidents of sexual violence indeed took place in at least 3 locations, including the Nova Music Festival. The findings also showed that hostages taken during the attack faced, quote, rape and sexualized torture and sexualized and cruel and inhumane and degrading treatment as well. It also has reasonable ground to believe that such violence may be ongoing inside of Gaza. Now, she made these comments on Monday as families of the hostages were in attendance at the Security Council meeting, along with the Israeli foreign minister who had traveled to this meeting from Israel. Russia, for its part, however, during the meeting cast doubt on the UN report and its findings.